All right, let's go ahead and keep going. We have the WIP in process beginning. So this first step, all we did was do EUs, but now we're going to keep going in our circle. So this whole page, this whole section, you have to write the answer to this question. And I want you to use your space, and we're going to start here and we're going to move in a circle. Okay, so start on this part of your page and move in a circle. And honestly, like, I know that sounds like I'm a little bit crazy about how I want you to set it up, but if you don't set it up like that, then you're going to set it up differently and then you'll forget a step. And there are 4 steps that we have to complete. And it's easy to miss one if you set it up weird. So this is going to be number 1. So usually I write on the board right here, but like this is number 1. This is number 2. This is number 3. And this is number 4. So those are the 4 things we're going to find in each one of our questions. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a different tab. And I'm going to start by doing WIP in units. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my grid lines. And then I'm going to draw a WIP account in units. I think I'm going to go to the second row so that when I copy and paste it, it's a little bit cleaner. So I'm going to merge these cells and I'm going to write WIP in units. And I'm going to give it a nice nice single underline here and drawing my C account. Right border. All right. And so now, not what I need. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my units. Now I have 4 numbers here labeled with units. Every time I give you the given, I'm going to give it to you a little bit differently. And you need to be comfortable sorting out the data. So I have 15,000 units. I have 180,000 units. I'm going to draw a line at the bottom. I'm ending with 20,000 units. So this says in, this says out. And then I'm going to give the 20,000 a double underline. Now, normally, you'll have 2 items branch off of here, material and conversion. But in this particular department, we only have conversion. So there is not 2 percentages given, it's only 1%. So this is with the beginning. Remember, I never need my beginning percentage. Of the percentages we used up here, we always ignore our beginning percentages. We need those if we use the FIFO method, but we are not using the FIFO method, so we do not need beginning percentages. So now we would branch off, and I only have 1 branch off because I don't have material and conversion. The next 2 problems we do, you'll have both. So I'm going to insert a shape. Oops. And this needs to be an arrow, and it needs to come off of here. And then for material, I think I want it to just go over there. So I think I'm going to take my arrow and I'm going to like make it go like that. And then I'm going to like, there we go. Okay. So for material, my percentage is 30%. And so 30% of 20,000 is 6,000. Okay. So now normally I'll have a branch over this direction too, and that'll be for, oh wait, this is conversion. Because material would be over here, but I don't have any material, so I don't have a branch off, and I'm fine with that. So then I come over here. So again, I start here, and then I'm going to come over here, and then I'm going to come down here, and then I'm going to come down here. Okay. So the next thing I'm doing is I'm calculating EUs. And normally I'll have a column for material and conversion, and I'll do material and conversion, but not this time because all I have is conversion. So for conversion, I definitely finished 175,000 units because those are the ones that I completed and transferred out. And I also finished the equivalent of 30% of 20,000, so 6,000. So my EUs are 175 and 6 is 181. And this is the answer for EUs. Now I'm going to actually be looking for 4 things. I'm going to be finding 4 things in my answers. Okay. I'm going to be finding compute EUs. Really does not want that U to be capitalized. There. Okay. So, and I'm going to compute cost per EU. And then I'm going to compute cost transferred out. And I'm going to compute ending WIP balance. So those EU cost per EU, cost transferred out, and WIP ending balance. So those are the four things that we're going to compute. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come up with our costs. And again, all we have is conversion, but we will have two columns eventually. And so when we're looking for costs, there are costs given in this problem. So in the problem, it's telling me that my costs are beginning 24,000 and incurred during this period 338. So my total cost is 362. So my cost per EU. So by the way, this 181, this is the answer to number one. Okay. So number one's answer, compute EUs, is 181. So cost per EU, I'm going to do exactly what the formula says. I'm going to do cost divided by EUs. Okay. So is it 2 even? Oh, that's so weird. Okay. So I'm going to hit the comma button, give it a nice whole number. Good. $2. Perfect. Okay. So this is my answer for number 2. So the reason why we're doing this is so we can compute our dollar amounts in our WIP account, because all this chapter is trying to do, all chapter 4 is trying to do, is help you to get numbers in and out of WIP by department until it can eventually land to finished goods, and then it eventually lands to COGS. So this chapter is focused on only the WIP account and getting dollar amounts in and out of WIP. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a WIP account in dollars. And so in my big circle, you guys can see that I started here and then I'm moving in a circle. Okay. Right. Okay. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space here because I want to be able to do a little check. So I'm going to draw a WIP account. I'm going to leave some space. Okay. So now I'm going to draw another WIP account, but this WIP account is going to be in dollars instead of in units. So we've never done a WIP account in units. We've always done WIP in dollars, like all accounts we've ever used, we've always put dollars into because that's what we keep track of as accountants. But now we are going to do WIP in dollars. Okay, so what we have is we have these dollars. Now this dollar amount, when we were looking at the given, that dollar amount was beginning. And then this is the extra cost incurred during the month. So those dollar amounts are going to go on the left side because this is the beginning cost. And then we spent 338. So then I'm going to draw a line across. And the two things I'm trying to find are the cost transferred out and then the ending balance. So those are the two things I'm trying to find. So this one is here. Okay, cost per EU is here. A different color, Nicole. Okay. This one will be here. And then this one will be here. I think what I want to do is I'm going to make this a tiny bit bigger. And then I'm not going to have that column there. I'm just trying to clean it up so that it's nice. Oh, it's pretty. Okay. All right. So to find the dollar amount transferred out, what we have to look at is how many units transferred out and what does each unit cost. So to calculate the amount that comes out of WIP, we know we finished 175,000 units and each unit is $2. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, all right, 175,000 units came out. That's why I do the WIP in units and WIP in dollars right on top of each other. So you can see the relationship. It was 175,000 units, but if I want to know how many dollars, I'm going to take it times 2 each. Now, I do not want decimal places. So I'm going to take all of this and all of this and all of this, and I'm going to convert it to a comma without decimals. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So this 350,000 is 175,000 units at $2 each. Okay. And then the ending balance is just an ending balance of a T account. So 24 plus 338 minus 350. So my ending balance is 12. And so to find this number, I had to look at my WIP in units and look at my cost per EU. So I needed numbers step 1 and 2 to be able to get step 3. And then the ending balance is just the T account. Now there is a way to check our ending balance to make sure that it's right. And so I'm going to do the check. What color have I not used? Orange. Okay. So here I'm going to go ahead and do a check just so you guys can see how this would work. And so all you have to do is take 6,000 times. So 6,000 is my ending units and it's 2 each. And it's 12,000 and 12,000 matches 12,000. So that's how this works. And so later we're going to have a branch off and we'll have 2 different numbers and we'll add them together to get the check. But this is a simple version of the 4 steps. And this is getting us dollar amounts transferred out and ending WIP. I'm going to give this a nice double underline because I'm going to take a picture of it and put it into the notes. So I'm going to try to clean this up a tiny bit so that I can make a nice picture for the notes. Okay, I think that looks good enough. And I'm going to do this. I'm taking a screenshot of it. And then I'm going to take this whole pretty little thing and I'm going to go put it into your notes. Aw, I think it worked nicely other than it threw the other stuff to the next page. So is there blank spaces in here? Is that the issue? Ah. Okay. So I think I can actually make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Is all still fitting? Okay. Sorry, you guys have to watch me do that kind of stuff. So this is the process and this is beautiful. Gosh, it's a pretty spreadsheet, isn't it? Okay, let's do it again. So the production report is a fancy report you can do to actually see what this looks like. And so this is the way that the book, if you were using a book, would teach you to do it. And so let me kind of show you a preview of that. Let's see where that would be. If you were in cost accounting and you were in chapter 8, I think we can see it here. Okay, so here's an example of our production report. And this is the way that the book teaches you to do this. And they just have like different dollar amounts and different things like that. But I like the T's because it's a clean process. And so I prefer the T's rather than doing this production report. You won't have to do production reports in here. You're just going to have to calculate EUs, cost per EU, cost transferred out, and ending WIP. And so if you were doing journal entries, that 350,000 would go out of WIP into the next production department. And then this ending balance would become the beginning balance the next period. And then you would start more units and complete units and transfer dollars out of WIP and into finished goods and stuff like that. So, okay, so let's do another one. So on this one, what we're going to do is go to another blank cell. Okay, and this one's going to be a little bit fancier than the last one because this page and the next page is everything you need to know from this chapter. So it has both material and conversion with your percentages and your dollars and everything else. You'll notice your percentages do not equal 100%. They don't have to. The ending percentages don't either. They could be 10 and 10 or 100 and 90. They couldn't be 100 and 100 or they'd be complete and they'd get transferred out. So, okay, so I'm going to take this data and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my Excel. So I'm going to come here, merge some cells. And by the way, I could just copy and paste it from the last one, but I'm trying to do it along with you. And so start off with WIP in units and draw a line. Okay. And so as far as our units go, keep doing that. Okay, so as far as our units go, it looks like we start off with 10. And then it says, and by the way, I'm going to go ahead and make everything a comma with no decimals. Okay, so 10,000, we are going to, units started in to production is 190. completed units, completed and transferred, 180. Line across. Ending would be 10 and 190 minus 180. 20,000 units in process, ending 20,000, double underline, branch off, arrows. Okay. And then we'll have material, and actually, I think I need it to be for the right. So material percentage, 80 and 25. Now those numbers, since I hit the comma button, I need to change those to percentages so we can actually see those. And so I'm going to move the words over to the right, which means I'm going to have to move my arrows to not do that. I know that doesn't look good. Maybe what I want to do is move these there. Whee! That's prettier. Okay, so now I feel good about that. Okay, so 80% and 25%. And so 20,000 times 80% is 16, and 20,000 times 25% is 5. And so then the next step will be go over here and we're going to do EUs, and we're going to have EUs that are separate for material and conversion. We definitely finished 180,000 units, but we also finished the equivalent of 16. So this 180 comes from here. Oops. And this 180 comes from here. And then we finish the equivalent of 16 and the equivalent of 5. So my EUs are going to be 196 and 185. Give that a nice double underline. And this will be my answer for number 1. Now let's go ahead and let's label our number 1, 2, 3, 4 by picking this. Okay, so that's number 1. Oops. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to do our costs. And so we are going to have costs for material and conversion. So let's go find our dollar amounts, and that's from the given. And now when you're looking for dollar amounts, obviously they should have dollar signs. And we have material costs and conversion costs. And this says cost of beginning. So beginning is 4,300 and 7,600, and then 74,100 and 140,400. So total cost would be 78,400 and 148. And then cost per EU is exactly what it says. So you'll take cost. And so students will do this backwards pretty regularly. So they'll try to do it backwards, but cost per EU is cost divided by EUs. And cost divided by EUs. Now, these numbers, I need them to have decimal places. So I'm going to hit the comma button, and it looks like 40 and 80. So in total, it looks like my cost per EU is $1.20. So this is my answer for number 2. So at this point, you might wonder why you're allowed to add them together, because I didn't have you add these together. And that's because there's duplication within here, but there's not duplication within the costs. So the cost per EU, we finished all of the material for these costs, and we finished, so we finished some of the material based on the percentages, and some of them are at 100%. So these are at 100%. These are at 80 and 25%. And so all of these costs were to do these units. And so it all works out to be able to add them together. So our cost per EU is $1.20 per unit. So any units that are actually finished have a cost assigned to them of $1.20. So the next thing we need to do is I need to give myself some space, because I'm going to need to do the check. Check will go here. and then numbers, and then add them together. So this will be my check. So I need to go down here and I'm going to draw my WIP account in dollars. I just wanted to make sure I gave myself enough room. So I'm going to merge those cells and I'm going to do WIP in dollars and I'm going to draw my T account. And I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, that's good enough. Okay, and so then this will be my WIP account in dollars. So I'm going to have an answer over on the debit side, and that's because it's an inventory account. So inventory is assets, assets are debits. By the way, so number 3 will be this little number, and it will be pink. And then number 4 will be this little number, and you will be blue today. Okay, so the beginning costs were the 4,300 and the 7,600. So the 4,300 and the 7,600 were beginning costs, and then these were costs that were incurred this period. That means it's money we spent that actually happened. So what we have to do is we have to put all 4 of those dollar amounts over here. Now, I don't care if you add them all together and put one number over here, or if you list all 4, or if you do the 78.4 and the 148, but these $4 amounts belong on the debit side here. So I usually just list them separately, like, because all those costs are either beginning or incurred. And so all those costs go over here. To get the dollar amount transferred out, it's going to be exactly like we did on the last problem. To get the dollar amount transferred out for like how many units got transferred out and what is the cost per unit. So how many units got transferred out? 180. And what is the cost per unit? $1.20. So this is the value for the cost transferred out. And then ending WIP is just a formula, like just a WIP account. So those minus the 216. So 10.4. All right. And that's the answer for number 4. So when I look at this, I found each of my 4 items, and that's what it asked me to do. 1, 2, 3, and then 4, ending WIP. Okay. And so what I would literally do with this, the whole purpose of this is so I can do a journal entry to get this dollar amount out of WIP and send it to the next department. So I am going to go ahead and do the check. And so what color have I not? And you don't have to do the check. It's just something I like to do, because if I do it, then I can feel like I have my answer right. So to do the check, you are going to do 16,000. These are material, like ending equivalent units or whatever, 16,000. So I'm going to take it times the cost per EU for material. And then I'm going to take the 5,000 times the cost per EU for conversion. And then if I add those 2 numbers together, I get 10.4, which matches that one. So that means that I did everything right. So pretty. Okay, let's go ahead and take a screenshot of this one. Oops. So we have it all in. Okay. Over here, over here. You did so great. Okay. All right, so that is it for that one. And then the next one is almost exactly like it. So what I want you to do is I want you to hit pause and then I want you to check the answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug it into my spreadsheet. And so I have beginning units of 200, started, completed, and ending units. The ending units are 40 and 25% complete. And then I have my $4 amounts. So you go ahead and you do it. So you hit pause and then I am going to just copy this cell, create a copy. And I'm going to put in my numbers. So since I set it up as formulas, it should all work nicely for me. And I'm just going to go ahead and put all of them in. So I started off with 200 units. I started 5, transferred out 4,800. So I ended with 400. Yep. And they are 40 and 25%. Is it 40 and 25? Yeah. And then my costs are beginning costs of 9,600 and 5,575. And then the extra cost incurred are 368.6 and 359. And then that should be it. Oh, I didn't set these up as formulas. So that one, that one, that one, and that one. Okay, now I'm all good and my check works. So now you can check your work. And so I did my WIP in units. I branched off with my 40 and 25%. So my EUs are 49.60 and 4,900. My $4 amounts go here, and my cost per EU is cost divided by EUs. Add those together and you get 149. To get the dollar amount transferred out, our $4 amounts go on the debit side of WIP. And then our cost per EU is 149 times 4,800 units. And then I just solved my ending T account. To do my check, I said 160 units at 76.25 and 100 units. 100 units times 72.75 added together, and it works. And so let me take this. And let me put it over in our notes. All right, and that is it. And so what I want you guys to keep in mind is that in any of these problems, you're going to do 4 steps. When you do the homework, the first homework, you only have to do the first step. You just do EUs, but all the rest of them, you'll do all 4 steps. And I need you to label your answers, okay? So I'll have a homework help video that will walk you through all of it. So, all right, I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you. Oops.